Welcome back, City of Heroes-ish, sort of, kind of. So, hey folks, Olin here. If you don't know, I used to play a lot of City of Heroes back in the day. Played up until it got shut down. One of my earliest videos on the channel is actually the last few minutes on the server Justice. So when I heard that the Titan Network had finally managed to put together a pseudo-ish City of Heroes, basically what we have here is a chat room City of Heroes. They don't have any enemies, they don't have any powers, nothing like that. It's just your characters wandering around all the zones, and you get to chat. So I've already gone through a little bit. Have a couple of my favorite characters here, but let's go through character creation because why not, right? So let's see here. Let's make mutation. Sure, why not? Do I have any? I'm thinking. Let's go for melee damage. And ooh, actually, you know what? Yes, we are going to go natural and Arachno Soldier, because those things were fantastic. Let's see here. Crab Soldiers? Yeah. Oh, wait. You know what? Won't be able to get the backpack. Right. I'll just show it to you. Let's go for range damage, blaster, dual pistols, right, mental, and I can't stand the run animation for the male character models in this game. They're just terrible. Terrible. So I have a bunch of saved characters, character costumes from back in the day when I played. So let me show you. Where are you? Ta-da! Right, we're gonna go for that one, but do I have... Bear with me a sec here. Yes. So this was the Crab Soldier. I love I really like that costume. I really did. I wish I could have a little bit more in-color, like, backpack, but what can you do? Alright, so where are you again? No, not you. Did I scroll by? I scrolled by. I'm a horrible person. There we go. Right, let's go for this. So, yeah, they had a whole bunch of fun stuff. They were like... Where are we? No. You're not gonna suddenly let me do the... let's I. Okay. There we are. That one's better. Different color options for all your powers. It was fun. It had some really great stuff going on. Anywho, probably misspelled that, but here we go. So skip the tutorial, hero, enter the game. So there are bugs here. You know, part of the reason why no one has emulated City of Heroes yet, no one at least successfully is, or at least to my understanding, we have the game and we know all the data that the game was sending to the server, and we know what the server was sending back, but we have no idea at all. Like no one has a clue what the server was like, so we can't emulate the server, unfortunately. People have made attempts. But yeah, so what we have with this version of the Paragon Chat is we have all the zones, which I actually think City of Heroes has some of the best city zones in MMOs. They have some fantastic areas. Um, I always really loved it. But folks chatting, you can do a slash command to move between maps, teleport between maps. Unfortunately, a lot of the City of Heroes zones sort of were built with the idea that people are going to be flying around and super jumping and teleporting and all that fun stuff. And we don't even have the sprint at the moment. We got nothing. From what I understand, that they're attempting. This is release 0.95 of the chat. It just came out on today when I'm recording this on the 7th of July, and so it didn't manage to get all the initial release features that they wanted, but they'd already set a date, so they didn't want to push it back. But on release 1.1 is when they're shooting to get some sort of kind of hacked version of the travel powers in, at the very least. But we do have the global chat channel, so we have local, broadcast, shout, all the normal stuff. I think there's even character tells, but City of Heroes had one of the earlier global chat systems up, and so there's global chat. I'm not sure if you can make your own chat rooms yet, but there is just sort of a one set Paragon Chat available for everyone, and there are some really nice little bits that they added into City of Heroes, like as a default, right? You can target someone, go look at do we have here info, and you can actually create your own character description, so do like a little character bio. It was fantastic, just sort of standing around waiting, just looking at people's character bios when they decided to put them in. It was fantastic, and it was a lot of fun, and it added a lot to the game, I always thought. But there is also this whole add edit note option, so there was a character notes option for City of Heroes built into the game, where you could it would keep track of them by the global name and give you all the known local names. So Sir Giles, we have his global name is Sir Giles, but like we would be able to keep track of all the different characters that they had. We could write little comments about them and give a rating of like what we thought about that person, and it would like log private message history. It was kind of fantastic. You'd have to turn that on, mind you, but it was a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun, but it was very helpful. Anywho, so let's check out a couple of the zones. There's some fantastic ones out there, but I'm gonna go to a couple here. There's a slash command map move, and it'll teleport you between areas. So it's map move. Let's go to 16. So I don't even know which issue it came out. There were 24 little updates, like major updates to City of Heroes when it 23 when it got shut down. 24 was on the server, and that is what we're playing with actually is 24. But there was this zone added in at one point called OUROBOROS, and it is a floating like a little floating fortress suspended in time. So it is a time travel area. And you could go back and replay all of your older all of the older content that existed. You would get little it would like lock your level. So if there was more content that you could play through on any one character eventually, and so you could go back and play through all sorts of stuff and see what it was like. It was basically sending you back to a period in your life to replay events. There were specific missions and things like that. It was a lot of fun. It had a lot to do with the story actually. Eventually, so there was a character in the game called Lord Nemesis, who was a crazy clockwork, fantastic character, who eventually, way in the future, saw everything just sort of unravel and was determined to save reality, right? And he became this character Mender Silos and went back in time to try and fix things, more or less. And he took the lovely Lord Voldemort school of coming up with a name. Ender Silos is what, Nemesis? So yeah, yay for anagrams. Um, but anywho, yeah, the City of Heroes, it had like I forget how many ways of time travel there were. There were like 7 ways of time travel or something like that, and we listed like 6. You know, we found out 6, and 7 was always supposed to be the whatever your character came up with version, which is, I think, a fun way to do it, especially for a superhero game where you sort of assume that people are playing with time travel. So, uh, in with this, I can't remember if it was before or after. Actually, I want to say it was before. There was this zone added in. Um, duh. So, Cimarora, Cremera, I don't know. But there was travel back in ancient Rome. Trouble back in ancient Rome. Good lord, I'm a little tired. I really wish I had flight because this is really fun little area. Um, but yeah, so the big heroes of City of Heroes were called incarnates, like the NPC heroes. You could end up becoming one at one point yourself. So there were different little abilities that you could get that could really boost your character. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, so what was I saying here? Oh, right, the music is distracting me here. But the characters were sort of like not quite reincarnations. Like the NPCs were not quite reincarnations of old characters, but like they got the same sort of sets of powers. So like the main character, Statesman, was a not main character, but like the head NPC, Statesman, was kind of the superhero or Superman version, superhero, kind of the Superman version of the game, and he got Zeus's abilities, so invulnerability, lightning, all sorts of stuff like that, and he had a version back in time here, and then you have Marcus Valer. Like it was a lot of fun stuff. So like I forget which group. It's the fifth column. I think can't remember what the fifth column became. Fifth column was a weird neo-Nazi-ish kind of group. Um, I forget what they ended up becoming. Can't remember. It's been so long. Um, but yeah, they went back in time to mess with history and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Um, so yeah, I always liked this zone. There was a task force along the long chain of missions ending in cutscenes and all sorts of fun stuff. There was a nice task force here that um, involved robots because of course robots in ancient Rome, right? And let's see here. There is 36. There we go. And there was the one and only. Well, there were 2 expansions. There was the villain one, and there was this Praetoria. And I the City of Heroes and City of Villains had varying degrees of like really awesome zone design, but I just think the zone design in Praetoria was fantastic. They really sort of really knew what they were doing by that point. Um, these areas just look great. I mean, take graphics into account. This is an old game. Um, at this point, probably what it would be like celebrating their 15th anniversary. It came out the same year WoW did. Came out the same year of Warcraft. So it just came out like about half a year to 9 months earlier. So we're dealing with a an engine that is about that old, and actually was very kind of made by people who didn't really, I guess, know what they were doing. You know, they sort of made an effective engine, but they were very they were neophytes at things, so there were odd holes, and I always remember that they had to find crazy hacks in order to do things. But yeah, no, I always thought this set of zones, the Praetorian zones, really remind me of actual sort of living areas, very overly clean and things like that. But that was kind of the point. These zones were very 1984-ish areas. But yeah, it sort of reminds me of like a real town, almost European to an extent in the sort of the street layout and things like that. Anywho, so then they went back and they were revamping old zones. That first zone that you saw, Atlas Park, was a revamp, and there was 2, 3. This zone, which was fantastic. It got changed from like a level 20ish zone to a level 50 only zone, Dark Astoria, which yeah, crazy things were happening with Dark Astoria, but it ended up being really like the death god Mott was involved. There were these. Oh, that was a base portal there. Yeah, there were zombies everywhere. The original version of Dark Astoria had this wonderful fog, so it was a very silent, hilly zone. You couldn't really see but a few feet in front of your face. Man, I wish I had travel power so I could show you sort of this far end over here. As it is, I'll probably just run the long way and kind of just cut to it, because it's a long ways away, and it's going to be a lot of me just sort of trying to come up with things to say in the interim. So, that's a fun little image. Oh hey, I found it. It's the Hypno Portal. Oh, behold the Hypno Portal. The power. On my more like personal channel, where I don't, I just do excerpts and things like that. I actually have I just have like a 10-minute-ish loop of just a bit of that just spinning around, because why not? It was fun. So yeah, I have a nice little clip of that. And someone was trying to say, oh, that wasn't from Dark Astoria, was it? Well, ha! Revamped Dark Astoria. Told ya. Okay, that was... Don't really mean that. Was doubting myself for a second, if I remember correctly. I was like, wait, no, was it? I think it was Dark Astoria, I'm pretty sure. It wasn't just a zone transition portal. No. Here we go. We transitioned from like city zone sort of thing to like random death cult cemetery. Because, of course, doesn't every town have one of these? I know my town does. I mean, really. Crazy. So yeah, they kept a lot of the city architecture and just changed like this whole area back here. Yeah, you ended up with a very interesting little area, and it's almost cooler. I mean, it's keep in mind, like, this is all sort of designed to be, yeah, sure, there were folks with super speed too, but a lot of people had flight and teleport, or super jump and super speed was a big one. You could really cross the map with that. But so yeah, there's a lot of things that just they're cool up close, but they're they're really awesome when you can just take in the whole thing, like this whole cadaver thing here. Anywho, gonna move on to actually one of my favorite zones in the game, and unfortunately, I'll just get to show it to you. I can't really explore it at all without a travel power, because it is the Shadow Shard, and I'm only really going to show you one of the zones, like the starter zone, because yeah, you kind of need to fly through the Shadow Shard, or teleport. Teleport works too, I suppose. But well, let's see what this is here first, because you can see a big, massive thing there, right? Yeah. Oh hey, it's a massive skull. Weird elephant xenomorph-ish skull thing. Yeah. Fun times. Alright, so... okay. Firebase Zulu in the Shadow Shard. Shadow Shard was fantastic zone from like a visual standpoint, right? Here, let me get to an edge and maybe hopefully show you. But they made it really harder than it needed to be to move around, and the zones were huge, like massive, crazy huge. They tried to like do these things called, like, there were these little things called jump jets, which were like gravity thing. Basically, there were these little bits where you walked over them and it launched you in an arc. But it didn't work very well if you had sprint on or some sort of innate move speed buff, because it was the little arc was working based on your movement speed, so it wouldn't actually move you very well at all. So yeah, you would overshoot things and crazy stuff like that. And the enemies here were all like giant eyes and craziness. But yeah, it was zones, just giant zones of these floating rocks, and like this area did not look huge from over here. It's just this over there, and it looks like a little spot, right? But loud machinery out of the way, it's kind of gigantic. And then if you look at the map, this is where we are, and there's a whole slew of these interconnected areas, and there's 3 of them. Yeah. And you know what? It was just they're just really cool zones, but they really couldn't do a revamp of them like they did for Dark Astoria, Atlas Park, some of the other ones, because there's just so much stuff here. And if you like improve the quality of the rocks and things like that, or try and make it look better, you have to hit the entire zone. So they did a lot of like instanced missions where they went into the Shadow Shard, but they never really played around with the Shadow Shard much past its release, which, as I said, it was a shame. But this was one of the first additions to the game, and they really didn't have it down yet like they did at the start, unfortunately. So 87. Just 2 more. Just 2 more. Oh, nope. Curses. I got the wrong one. The wrong one! So this was another zone that they revamped at one point. and it's the RIKTI war zone. RIKTI were alternate dimension aliens that looked crazy, and they had invaded ages back because of that person I mentioned earlier, Nemesis. He invaded their world to get them to invade here, so he could save the day and basically conquer the world that way. You know, because comic book basically is the thing. But they invaded with giant flying saucers and craziness like that. There was the end of beta event was actually like the flying saucer over that Atlas Park, the first zone that we were in, and beaming down, like they teleported in enemies to fight. So that was the end of beta event, and the result was this zone, RIKTI War Zone. I can't remember if it was originally called the RIKTI War Zone or not, but there's some cool bits in here. This one was like once it got sort of revamped a little bit, it had a raid here. It was the mothership raid. Basically, there were these little pylons that would pop up around the that existed around the zone, guarded by RIKTI, and you would go in. When you defeated all the pylons, I think there were like 13 or so. There was a giant force field around the mothership, which you'll be able to see in just a minute. And once that was down, like once you killed all the pylons, the force field around the mothership would fall, and you'd be able to attack the mothership. So you jump onto the mothership and you know, fight constantly spawning hordes of enemies. You would break down some walls, plant some bombs, and eventually there was an enemy called basically, if I recall correct, it was Herodotus, I think, basically was the RIKTI, since they were sort of weird alternate dimension humans, they had weird names that were specific references to like human things, right? Earth, you know, our Earth things. So it was like HRO apostrophe DO T, like it was a weird spelling of it. But it basically, if you pronounce it correctly, it was like Herodotus. And there was another one like the Honoree. It was like weird guys. But I believe, yeah, you'd fight Herodotus here. So yeah, see the crashed mothership. See it crashed here, caused all this lovely damage. There's actually they had some really cool bits in the game, which, since City of Heroes was a very instanced game, like pretty much all the missions were instanced. There were very few outdoor zone missions. They had some really cool aspects of the zone design that were just never ever addressed, and not taken care of or not dealt with any respect, really. They could have been neat little open world dungeons and things like that, but instead they just sort of were left to be window dressing like everything else. The fact that they had this open world raid here in the RIKTI War Zone was kind of an aberration almost. Which, as I said, was a shame. But thankfully, they did have this global chat system. Really nicely done global chat system. You know, your chat channels had different colors, and you know, you could. It was just very easy to talk to people, even across servers, and so they had a really strong community. If it wasn't for that, I don't think that it would have been nearly like it would have felt very disjointed, almost more single player, like some of these other games that are out there that are incredibly instanced. Or let's see if I can find. I'm gonna just cut to, if I can find what I'm looking for here. There is a Fifth Council base hidden in the zone, where you can just go in and there's just an entire base. It's basically basically the same as one of the instant mission versions of the like it's an instance mission map, but just connected to the world. And they could have done interesting things with it, but instead, sadly, they just sort of left it to be part of the window dressing of the zone. Versus, I have no idea where it is anymore. Always took a couple minutes to find back in the day. And that was with, travel powers. It's flying back and forth over it, because I know it's right over in this area. Which is, like the majority of the map, mind you. But, Pork Chop Hill, really. Yeah, I always knew, like, once the enemies started turning from, like, RIKTI over into, oh, I just remember they were called the Council, or Fifth Column, that you were in the right spot. But, sadly, don't really have that to go on at the moment now, do I? Let's sigh. Alright, well, anywho. On to the next and final location. Okay, I thought it was kind of near one of these outposts. Vanguard outposts. But, yeah, well. Anyhow, see any doors? Maybe it's... Find it? I think I found it. Yes, yes I did. Fantastic. We found it. So yeah, like there's the whole, normal zone, and then here we just have this whole underground base. That had nothing to do with anything, and there was no reason to go down here. Like zero reason whatsoever to go down to this underground base. It was there. There was no there were no like little badges, right? City of Heroes said badges, not achievements, but there were no badges to be head down here. City of Heroes was kind of light on loot. Right? There was like loot was dropped more by like enemy group than by specific enemies, and everyone. It was very strange. But yeah, there was no real special loot to be had. There was no nothing, no reason to go down here whatsoever. They just had it here as like an Easter egg, kind of, but a number of the other Easter eggs had like badges associated with them. So, yeah, that was just there because, and as I said, I always wish they'd done something a little bit more interesting with it than they did. So, let's check out one of the social hub City of Heroes, Pocket D. So, this was a bridge between hero zones and villain zones. So heroes zone in from this blue side, villains zone in from the red side, and there is a no fighting policy put together by this guy up here. This is a pocket dimension created by that guy up there, DJ Zero apparently. And yeah, so he set up this zone as a place to hang out and chat, and this is where the winter events were, the Christmas events. They popped in a ski chalet over there, which was so much fun. I'm really sad it's actually not available here right now. Ski chalet was fantastic. But we do have Pocket D though, so there is that. A lot of the role-playing little like radio channels that they had, they would all hang out here, and this is where like the the DJ for the channel would be logged into the game DJing, and like people would hang out here, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. There's this little bit over here. There's a zone to Praetoria right back in there. I believe the Valentine's Day event took place partially in here too. Cupid would appear in the area. There's Monkey Fight Club. They're RIKTI monkeys, were these little weird psychic monkeys, and they would like groups of the monkeys would sort of come into the room here and fight and attack and kill each other for your fun and amusement. You could go down here and watch if you wanted. And apparently, yep, there's the exit. So yeah, it was a fun little area. So anywho, this is all that there is right now. They're never planning on adding combat. There are other attempts to get City of Heroes back up and going, and this is just sort of separate. This, I believe, appeared out of something called City of Heroes Icon, which was a single-player only little thing where you had access to the game and you could do everything that you could here. It was just single player, right? So you could make characters and look around the zones and yada yada yada, but you couldn't interact with anyone. And where's the fun of an MMO if you can't, if you're just making, if you're just doing a costume designer and you're not actually talking to folks? So they ended up coming up with this Paragon Chat. So if you if you're nostalgic, if you played City of Heroes, you're nostalgic for it, come back, give it a try, just wander around, enjoy the scenery. Maybe wait until 1.1 comes out and you can actually fly and travel around. Also, if you're a role player and you do like superhero stuff and you actually want a good setting for superhero role playing, this is fantastic. Especially since you have the entire world, and they had some really, really cool zones for you to play around in. So there is always that, and maybe keep your fingers crossed and hold out hope for some of the other attempts to, bring us something where we can actually play the game. Just go and randomly kill stuff. Sorry, arrest things, because these are superheroes. We don't kill. We just arrest them. Anywho, hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully you check this out. It's a lot of fun, especially for those of us who played and loved City of Heroes. And anywho, until next time, later.